Wayne, what's the balance between evolution and revolution?
Yeah, there is a balancing act, isn't there? Look, we're excited to be in with a new coaching group, or I'm excited to be in with a new coaching group, and we've talked long and hard about how we can add value to what is already a successful rugby team. So everything we're doing, we're throwing that question at it, I guess. Are we adding value? If something's not broken, then we move on. And the beauty of having been in this position behind the scenes, I guess, for over 12 months now, is that it's going to be plenty of time to have lots of meetings, discuss a lot of rugby issues with a lot of people, and to find the views of many, and then to add that into the pool of information, I guess, so that we can hopefully make some good decisions going forward. But we definitely want to evolve the game with the ball. That's something that we're going to try and do. That'll take time, and we look forward to that challenge.
In terms of new names, the two New Zealand-born players qualified on residence in the back line, Johnny McNichol and Willis Halahollo. What are you looking to them to bring?
Yeah, well, Johnny McNichol I personally know a lot about, clearly. Willis I had in the Auckland age groups when I was coaching Auckland, so I know his background. They're both very, very exciting attacking players. It's an opportunity for us to get Willis into the mix for a week and to have a look at him. We've spoken to Willis earlier in the season about parts of his game that we like and parts that we think he can work on, as we do with most players. So it'll be an interesting week to see how some of the players step up into a new environment, and he's one of those players.
And two young back rowers who are uncapped, Tane Basham and Shane Lewis-Hughes. Tell us about those two.
Yeah, look, they're exciting young talents. They're both well known to the age group coaches. They've had a successful time through the development program that we have here, and they're now both playing senior rugby for their clubs, and both have caught the eye. I was at the Dragons game with John Humphreys on the weekend, and not a bad time to score 3 tries for your club as a youngster. So Tane did very well there, and look, it's again part and parcel of learning more about players so that we've got more information in the mix when it comes to Six Nations. And the selection of this group is part of it's on the here and now for the Barbarians game, part of it is looking at players and getting information for the impending Six Nations, but also with an eye on 2023.
In terms of the game itself, obviously the Barbarians as opponents aren't going to be like anything that you face in the Six Nations, you wouldn't have thought.
No, and that's a fun element, isn't it? Because in the game today, the professional side of the game, everything's pretty structured, and a lot of work goes into attack and defence and doing homework on opposition, previewing teams and reviewing your own performance. And I think this is a game where people can look forward to good old-fashioned running rugby from certainly the Barbarians, and we'll certainly be looking to play our part in the game, but within the structures we put in place. So I think these are great games. Everyone looks forward to them, and it looks like we've got a great crowd coming along, and it should be a great opportunity for some Welsh players to put their hand up.
In terms of style, how different do you think that Wales 15 that takes the field against Italy at the start of the Six Nations is going to be from the style that we saw from Wales in the World Cup?
Well, again, if you throw that question of adding value to it, I think we've been a very disciplined team. Our record speaks for itself in terms of reducing penalties in games and reducing opportunities for the opposition to get into the scoring zone, if you like. Takes pressure off the defence, and the defence has worked pretty well. It's been well documented over the last few seasons, and that's kept us in games, and it's won us games of rugby. And I think most opponents would say that Wales are a very, very hard team to break down and beat. So that's not a bad position to be starting from. And as I said earlier, if we can look at adding value, if you like, to the part of the game when we do have the ball, I don't think you're going to see us go willy-nilly moving the ball from everywhere, because the more we play, the more opportunities teams to turn ball over, and that stresses the defence. So it'll be horses for courses and common sense prevailing, I think.
And Sam Warburton added to the coaching group as a technical advisor. How do you see his role, and how will it fit in with Byron Hayward?
Oh, look, I think they'll complement each other really, really well. We've been together just a couple of days this week, or a day and a half so far, and look, the heads are getting together. There's a lot of good conversations being had, and look, what we've done there is we've got an experienced head of department in Byron, who I know very, very well. He's done a fantastic job with the Scarlets. And Sam coming in to me just again adds value. If you look at the attack side of the game, we've had 2 coaches for some time, and Rob and Jenks, and they've worked together in terms of ball in hand and out of foot, and in terms of across the park. And kicking's not just defensive and exits, it's also attacking kicks. So they work together. And if you can imagine a training session at the end, you've got 40 players, 2 coaches, throw in 2 or 3 assisting them in terms of working on guys' skills. Defensively, we've had 1 coach. So it's something I talked to Sean about and Byron about, and we've ended up with 2 coaches. Sam will bring in technical expertise and decision making at the breakdown defensively, and that's primarily his role. Although he's a very experienced player, and we're silly not to tap into some of the other parts of the game where he'll have obviously views. So I'm excited about that combination. Probably a lot's been said about our defence, as I said earlier, and that Sean's done such a great job. These 2 guys coming together, I think, is going to be great, and I look forward to them working well together.
And what can Wales fans expect over the next 4 years? What can they hope for?
Well, look, we're building towards 2023. We've looked at the boys' performances at the World Cup this season, obviously finishing 4th. We've looked at what we think we need to do to bridge the gap and to be able to knock off New Zealand, England or South Africa on a given day at a World Cup. And clearly to win it, you've got to have 3 big performances in you, week on, week off. And we think that profiling by position, we'll look at the sort of athletes that we need to play the game we want to play, and that's a process we're going through at the moment. It's an extensive process of looking at players not only in the current senior game in Wales, but looking through the age group system and the work there that we're doing with the under-20s, the under-18s with Ryan Jones coming in his position. So we're working closely together there to maximise the resources we've got. There's also an Exiles program which we want to build on and make sure that we're covering a lot of ground so that every Welsh player that's out there that is eligible to play for their country, we have as much information on and they have an opportunity.
Wayne, what's the biggest challenge that you face over the next few years?
Maintaining the behaviour in the coaching office, to be honest. This morning's a great example. There was so much laughter in there. I thought we must have won the World Cup, but I think it's just excitement about getting in and finally getting to work. But no, look, it's going to be, I think, managing expectation early. I think a lot of people are going to expect us to be throwing the ball around willy-nilly. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be horses for courses, as I said. We've got to get ourselves into the position where we create opportunities and then play to our strengths, which hopefully will be a wide game as well as being able to have a power game to go with it.
Wayne, will Sam work campaign to campaign, or will he be sort of a WRU employee full stop, or will he just talk a little bit how that's going to work?
Sam's here, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not. No, he's campaign to campaign, but he'll be full-time. He'll be paid campaign to campaign, but he'll be working his socks off. No, he's on a serious note, he is campaign to campaign, and he will, as I say, work in the area around the breakdown, in particular the defence.
Wayne, will he actually be attending games then during the Six Nations because he did all that media work as well? Or is he stopping the media work?
Yeah, I'm going to take his phone off him when he's in the dugout with us. He'll be with the Six Nations program, and we're keen to have him there.
Alan Wynne is kind of injury, isn't he, Wayne?
Yeah, he's a little bit of a groin niggle, so he will have an extended break. He was always going to get a 6-week recovery period. In terms of the players with Knox, Prav, head of medical, Bobby, head of strength and conditioning, those guys have had a lot of input and recommendations into the time off. There's a bit of a science behind it. We haven't just picked a random number for players, and it's been on their volumes. The knocks they've had, you've got to remember these guys have been going since June, so it's been a heck of a workload, not only physically but mentally as well. Alan Wynne, the responsibility of being captain, so he's got a 6-week layoff.
When have you got a captain in mind for this squad or for this team?
Yeah, we have. We'll speak to a couple of players early next week, but we've definitely there's a couple of guys that spring to mind straight away who coach their captain their club sides, and but I've spoken to both of them.
How different is it going to be, Wayne, from being head coach of a region to being, in effect, chief executive of Team Wales?
Yeah, bigger media crew for a start.
Just looking at the staff they've got as well. I mean,
Yeah, no, it is. Everything's bigger, isn't it? The weight of expectation from the public. So you go from a region to a nation. So everything is a lot bigger. I've seen that already when I've had to go to the Principality and the NCM meet all the staff. So I think it might take me a year or two to remember everyone's names, but certainly it's a big organisation, and with that comes a lot of responsibility.
Do you have to step back a little bit from the coaching, or will you be very much taxing in the mix?
Oh, look, it won't change how I operate. I don't micromanage. We've got, my job is to get the right people in that can work together, that are compatible, that are experts in their field, and everybody that we've brought on board, I believe, are experts in their field and will do a great job. So really it's just us sitting down, working out how we want to defend, how we want to attack. The important part is that transition between attack and defence and how we go about that. And just agreeing on how we want to play an opposition week by week, campaign by campaign. So that'll be an inclusive process, but I'll be out on the training field with all the other coaches.
We shouldn't forget, of course, you've been a national coach before. What's the difference between this and Fiji?
There's quite a big difference. But it is a national team at the end of the day, and there are similarities as well. The similarities being rugby and religion are the two big things in Fiji. Rugby for 6 days of the week, and they live and breathe it. And so, the responsibility to put on good performances for productivity, you see it anywhere where it's number one sport. If you had a bad day at the office, you see that in the workforce on a Monday. So our job is to go out there and put on performances that the country's going to be proud of. That's a big responsibility and one which we're all looking forward to the challenge.
What lessons do we learn from the World Cup? The way South Africa won it, the way England performed at times?
I think what we're doing as a new group is not being judgmental. It's sitting there and looking 2023 where we think the game is heading, what sort of athletes we think we need, the profile for a prop, second row, that sort of thing. And that's the work behind the scenes we're doing. We're obviously looking at the three teams that finished ahead of us and seeing if there's common ground across those three sides and what does that look like and what do we have to do to bridge that gap and in fact overtake those sides.